How you doing, guys? I wanted to do a quick review of the new Biopod Plus, which is a black soldier fly bin, for those of you who don't know. And black soldier flies are a type of grub, well, the larva is anyways, that are great for composting and feeding to pretty much anything. Fish, chickens, reptiles. And this is a bin designed to raise and harvest them. And it'll leave you with grubs to feed to stuff and compost that you can use as compost. So, anyways, that's for those of you who didn't know. Okay, so I've had this thing for probably a couple months now, so I figure I can give a detailed review of what I think of it, and we'll just go through the good, the bad, and the ugly. So the good is that it's relatively compact size. I don't know if you can see in relation to my hand, which is, you may think that you'll need this huge bin, but you really don't. You can put a ton of compost into this thing, and the soldier grubs eat it so quickly that the bin really doesn't need to be any bigger than this, unless you have like a really large commercial operation going. So, or you just have like a ton of waste to get rid of. For the normal person, this is going to be plenty big enough. So that's one of the good things. It's a nice compact size. Obviously, I like the design, the way it looks. It doesn't look ridiculous or anything. You can just look pretty much like a normal plastic tote with just a lid on it, and you can sit it pretty much anywhere in your backyard and it'll work. So no problems with that. Easy to move and everything. And the number one good thing about it is that it does work. I have been using this for a few months and it's been producing plenty of grubs for my chickens, and has been probably have a nice chunk of compost in there when I'm done, when it finally fills up, and then I'll just empty out the compost and start over. And in case you were wondering, this thing right here, I'll go over some of the things I learned in another video about like using it, but this is, around here we have a lot of fire ants, and they will just instantly crawl into the bin, so I had to make this container with water so that they can't cross into the bin. But now that we've gone over the good, let's go over the bad. The one thing that I don't like about it is that this part is not attached in any way. It just sits under that. I think that would have been an easy remedy and would have made it a lot more stable, a lot easier to move. Like, it's not hard to move, but you have to kind of move it in two separate pieces because this is not connected. It just sits there. So that's probably my number one biggest complaint, is that thing. Also, the lid is not airtight. I mean, not that you want it to be airtight, but there's a gap here, which isn't a huge problem, but if there's a lot of moisture or rain, the grubs will tend to crawl up the sides, and they've been escaping through here. So not an enormous problem, but if this kind of latched on and so that they couldn't get out through the gap, that would have been preferable. But, you know, not a huge deal. Another thing is that this lid does not stay open. Like if you put it open, it won't stay open. So I don't know if I'm going to construct some kind of arm like on the hood of a car that'll hold it open, or maybe modify this part here so it can tilt back a little bit more, like shave some of that off. But either way, that can kind of get in the way if you need both hands to be putting stuff in there. Not a huge deal, but I think that would have been an improvement. And another thing that I'm gonna have to come up with, because of like raccoons and stuff, is that there's no way to secure this on here. Whether or not it's attached to the bin or just sitting there, I'm gonna have to probably put like an eyelet here and an eyelet here and secure it with bungees. Same with the lid, because I've come out here and the thing has been like kicked open and this has been knocked off and the raccoons have gotten in there. And not that a couple bungee cords would necessarily stop a raccoon, but it may help. So, and I wish there was at least some way to attach this that came with the thing. Shouldn't be too hard to improvise, but it would definitely make it better in my mind. And that brings us to the single most problematic aspect of this, which is the price. At like $189 or something before shipping, it's just ridiculously expensive in my mind. I'm not sure why it's that expensive, but it makes it prohibitive for most people, because $200 or so to spend on like a compost bin for grubs is just too much for most people. Most people can't do it, and I'm just crazy, so I did it because I don't know why, but but it's just too much, and I definitely think it's stopping people from using it because it's just too expensive. And I'm not sure what could be done about that, but it's something to look into. But with that in mind, it does work. So is it worth it, is the question? Well, I mean, in a purely economic sense of like cost benefit, if you're just talking about investment aspect, no, it's not worth it. I mean, you're not going to get. It would take so long to get $200 worth of either compost or chicken food out of it that it's probably not worth it in any meaningful sense. Just like right now, putting solar panels on your house isn't quote unquote worth it because it's going to cost more than getting it from the grid. But you do get certain things out of this that make it still probably a good idea. Like it allows you to create chicken food and get rid of waste, even if you were to be detached from the grid in some way. So if you had trouble getting chicken food, or you thought that there may be a issue with supply, then yeah, that could be helpful. So that's one of the main reasons I have it. It's part of a much larger overall system that I'm planning on here for self-sufficiency and everything, and that's why I have this. So we'll have food for the chickens, for the fish when I finally start my aquaponics setup, hopefully one day. And so that's what I have, and it works for that, so that's cool. I definitely like the fact that I have it. It allows you to get rid of waste and instantly, basically overnight, turn it into food for other animals. And then you have some really rich compost afterwards. So I'm glad I have it. I'm glad I got it, but I do wish that they could do something about the price. But overall, that is my experience with this thing. I'll make another video here pretty soon about practical experience using it for the past couple months, what I learned, tips and tricks and stuff like that. But for now, let me know if you guys have one of these, or if you've used one of the older ones, or both, and what your thoughts are, or if you've tried to make one of your own, because I had one. That's another thing I wanted to mention, is I have made a homemade one, and it didn't work very well, and it's very difficult to make them properly to where you don't have a lot of random issues. So that's why I'm kind of happy I got this, because I have tried to do it myself, and it's not easy. So I can appreciate the way that this works pretty well. So, alright guys, I'll talk to you later.